Welcome to another episode of the Get Out Swim podcast. I'm your host, Seamus T. Quinn, and today I'm joined by head coach of the Malaysian National Team and founder of MAKO Swim. Today's guest is Eric Anderson. Eric, thanks for hopping on.
Thanks for having me, Seamus.
Yeah, great. So Eric and I connected via Instagram, and again, just happy to have another perspective on the podcast. I think you're going to be unique in the sense that you've been in several different countries, coached in several different countries, and you're making a software, or you've kind of made a software that can help enhance swimming and coaching. So let's start with let's start with kind of your position right now in Malaysia. Like, what is it that you do on a day-to-day basis? Who are the athletes that you're working with in Malaysia?
Yeah, sure. So I ended up here just about 2 years ago now, February 2024 was when I got off the plane. And I inherited my main work is at the National Center here in Kuala Lumpur. So my main responsibility is the performance of Malaysia's elite swimmers. So that's a group of about 10 athletes that are under what we call podium classification. And so my job is to make sure that they're ready to swim fast when it counts. And that's really about it. I do a lot of other things. There's obviously a lot of admin stuff that goes into being national coach, but I've got a really great team of people around me that help with that, so I can stay focused on the main thing. Yeah.
What are the resources like there,
Really
in Malaysia for the national team?
Yeah, really good, actually. We're looped in with the federal government, and so all the athletes that I coach are on salary, right? So, I mean, I get paid a salary, but so do they. So every single person I coach, they get a monthly stipend, they get free accommodations and food, they get university subsidization. I mean, the infrastructure here is amazing compared to what I think athletes in the West typically have access to.
Sure.
Not a lot of people know that, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly why I'm asking. I don't know what the landscape necessarily looks like, in Southeast Asia. So that's very cool. And so, what does that look like then, as far as your training facility? Like, are you swimming outdoors in a kind of a Olympic-sized long course pool with a lot of space and equipment? What does that look like?
Yeah, we've got two 50-meter pools here. So we've got a 10-lane 50, an 8-lane 50, and then a 25-meter diving well. And obviously weight room and dorms and everything are on site as well. So every workout I have access to a 10-lane 50, like the whole thing. So I have a lot of space to do a lot of things that maybe aren't so doable in a typical club setting. But it's quite nice, and we have some pretty high performance guys there. I mean, I certainly didn't know before I moved down to Malaysia what the level of swimming was down here, because it's quite hard to find information on this part of the world in terms of rankings. So, but we have guys doing FINA A cuts and doing Olympic qualifying times, and I mean it's actually like really developed.
Well, yeah. So speak on that. What's the culture like in Malaysia for swimming and for swim programs, growing swimmers? What's it like there?
Surprisingly similar to the U.S., I would say. Like the club system is very similar. I mean, the meets look basically the same. Everything is on high tech. Like it's the same system, just copy pasted down into here. I think culturally, obviously, there's a lot of differences between Malaysia and other places that I've been, but in terms of club programming and swimming culture, that's very similar. The meets, it looks pretty much the same. The big difference is that there's a lot of funding available to a lot of people here. So each of the states in Malaysia has their own sports governance body, and they provide funding to state level athletes, and then we at the national level provide funding to national level athletes. So there's a lot of support that goes around in the community, and that's something that's really unique, and I think allows people to make the choice to swim longer, easier.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, huge benefit to have support from the federal and state level definitely makes it more worthwhile to stay in swimming if you can make
That's
it
for sure.
work financially. That's great. How many athletes are you overseeing?
So we have in the center, we have about 20, but
Okay.
my main responsibility is the 10 podium guys, which includes 8 athletes that are here in KL, and then 2 that are international. One who's at Sterling, and one who is in London at a club. Yeah,
great, awesome. And so, as a coach, are you gearing your training towards international competitions? Kind of coming up here in a couple months, and then down the line in the summer. Like, how does that timeline work as far as gearing up for competitions for your athletes?
Yeah. It's similar to the rest of the world, but here in Southeast Asia, we have our own ecosystem of meets, right? So the biggest meet for us is not World Championships or the Olympics. Even I would say that it's the Southeast Asia Games, SEA Games, and those are coming up here in 3 weeks. So we're in the very end of our block, coming in towards taper now. But typically, yeah, our calendar is the international meet calendar, World Cups, World Champs. Obviously, I was in Paris, but yeah, when it's SEA Games, that's all hands on deck.
So the SEA Games are in 3 weeks here, and those are
in Bangkok. Yeah.
Okay. In Bangkok, short course meters?
No, everything down here in Asia is long course meters.
Okay.
Right. They actually, when I got here, my technical director is American, Megan Osting. And we work closely together and have since we got here at the same time. And we implemented the first ever Malaysia short course nationals in history.
Oh, wow.
was last year. So we were really, and we took the national team to go race World Cups, and we did World Short Course in Budapest. And that was like really new for these guys, because they've never trained short course. So when they go over to the NCAA, I've got multiple guys who are signing scholarships and stuff right now. It's going to be a big shock to them to go swim in the yards pool, where, I mean, things happen real fast, and that's not the way swimming is developed over here at all.
Interesting. Yeah. How cool is that, though? You can bring some of that culture over to short course culture over to Malaysia. That's
and it went really well. They loved it, like, because of course short course is super fun. Like, of course people would enjoy that. So
definitely, that's great. And how did this come to be? You taking over as Malaysia national team coach? Like, how did this kind of all come to be?
Yeah, so a little bit like my pathway through coaching, I think, is a good place to start. I started coaching when I was 24, about 8 years ago now. And I started in club coaching in Toronto, and I did that for a couple of years. And then I came to this realization that I really wanted to coach senior high performance athletes. And as you know, and we talked about before the show, like, the only way to do that in the US or in Canada is to go get a college coaching job, right? And I wasn't having any success making that move from Canada to the NC2A. And so my next plan was to look at Europe, because in Europe, there's no university swimming system in most countries. And I knew a lot about Sweden and Denmark, me being a Swedish citizen. I started looking that way, and an opportunity came up through a mutual contact. They had actually been offered a job in Denmark at a university program, and or a club based out of a university, and they weren't ready to take the move or make the move to Denmark, and referred them to me. And then I interviewed for it, and I ended up getting it. And then 6 weeks later, I was on a plane to Europe, and I was, pleased to say that it played out the way that I'd hoped that it would. And I inherited a pretty good group of senior athletes that included the best 200-meter breaststroker in Denmark at the time. And she had been struggling for about 4 years or 3 years at that time, with no best time. She was 19 when we started, and she did really well and went from like just inside the world top 100 to number 5, and won some international medals, and there was good momentum there. And at the same time, Malaysia was looking for a new national coach, and I figured why not take a swing at running the show, and because that would be a new challenge and a different sort of challenge. So I applied for it and ended up getting it. And same as with Denmark, it was 6 weeks onto the plane and down to the jungle. So
wow. So how long did you spend in Denmark before coming to Malaysia?
Almost 3 years. Just
Almost
about
3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And tell me, what was that time like for you? What were some takeaways, learning experiences, things that stick in your mind still as you are
That
living in
was,
Malaysia?
yeah, Denmark was transformative, man. I think Denmark is where I really found who I was as a coach, for sure. I was coaching kids in Toronto, and then all of a sudden, within months, I was doing national team camps and going to Europeans and going to, like, it accelerated very fast. And it was a crash course in managing real high performance senior athletes. And that's a very different challenge than coaching club. I'm not going to say that it's harder, because I think in a lot of ways, I think coaching club is harder than what I do, but it was a huge learning curve, and I had no choice but to learn immediately. So it was really transformative. Yeah. And culturally it was different. Like, everything in Denmark is publicly funded. So there's a lot of things I had to learn to deal with on that side of things, facility usage, etc. But the main thing was, and I'm so thankful for how it all played out, was that instant exposure to the world of swimming that I always dreamt of operating in, right? When I started this coaching journey. And I'm really fortunate that I got to do it early on and, like, really feel it. And that really changed how I think about swimming.
So what was talk to me more about, like, what the experience was like in Denmark, as far as, again, like, culturally, resources, types of athletes that you were working with, overall, just day to day, kind of, life.
Yeah, well, like I said, I showed up there with the best 200 breaststroker in the country in my program, and a number of other breaststrokers in the program. So one thing that I never thought I would become when I got to Denmark was like an expert in breaststroke. I couldn't swim breaststroke as a kid. Like, I have never done a 200 breaststroke. If you go on swim rankings, you will not find a long course 200 swim from me, because it never happened. And so all of a sudden, I had these really great breaststrokers, and I had to figure out, well, I know a lot about coaching and I know a lot about breaststroke, but I've never done international high performance breaststroke technical coaching, and certainly haven't had the experience of teaching someone who's been world class that they have to change their technique and their behaviors. That was a really big challenge. When someone has already is the best in their country for years and has won international medals, how do you convince that person that, they need to change things? And so that was the biggest thing that I had to learn quickly, because we did have to learn a lot of things. And I called in help. One thing I think more coaches should do is ask for help in situations where they may not have 100% confidence in what they're doing. So my first call was to a guy named Joseph Nagy, who really invented modern breaststroke and decades ago. And he was just, he agreed to meet with me, and I spoke with him for an hour a week for the first 6 weeks I was in Denmark, sending him videos of my breaststroker. And, it was funny. The first thing I sent him a bunch of photos, and I told her that she had been 225 in long course. And he went, "This person has been 225?" I went, "Yeah." And he went, "I got great news for you, Eric. Everything is wrong." So he just started sending me, like, this thing has got to be like this, and this thing has got to be like this. And that was obviously something I'm very thankful for, and I learned a ton from. And I've continued to do that with
give some examples of what you learned and talking with him.
Yeah, we talked a lot about timing, and really like small nuances of breaststroke timing in terms of like when to pick up your feet and how to connect things to the body in a way that allowed for really natural flow in the stroke. And um, those sorts of things is tough to explain without like video or photo cues, but
Sure,
like
sure.
really in-depth, small, fine motor things that
Mm,
are bigger than just like kick and pull timing. No, there's actually a lot more things that happen in between those two big things that allow you to swim the stroke with flow. And we talked a lot about different types of breaststrokers, right? Like the woman I was coaching, Taya Blomsterberg, she had a really wide kick, like super wide, right out towards the lane lines.
yeah,
And everyone in her swimming career had been telling her, no, you need to narrow it out, and we need to
yeah,
pick up your tempo, and we need to do this and do that. And when I saw the videos, I just went, well, that doesn't make sense to me because she's already going so fast doing it this way. And Joseph was the first one to say, like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like whatever's natural for them to do, if it allows them to go fast, you're pretty much fine.
mm,
There's way more important things to look at than the width of the kick in terms of hip and knee angles and other things that are worth way more, like you have way higher ROI fixing those things than narrowing out a kick for someone who has insane mobility to do it that way. Like
sure.
it's just not worth it. Right? But
Mm,
the opposite can be
interesting.
true as
Yeah.
well, right? Like people would,
Oh, yeah,
some
yeah, yeah.
some people should need to narrow things
Have it
out,
more
right?
narrow. Yeah. Well, that's something I've definitely learned too. It's not, especially for breaststroke, it's not a one size fits all. It can't be. Like I think people are genetically just predispositioned to have,
Mhm.
more hip mobility or more ankle mobility. Like there's a natural born breaststroker and then there's a
Yep.
breaststroker. Like it
Yeah, there sure is.
have to
And
play into
like
that.
it's so complicated, and well, it's not complicated once you like really get into it and then understand it. But I mean, my program, by the time I left Denmark, half of my performance group, I had 12 people in the performance group, 6 of them were breaststrokers, and
Mm,
they were all top of Denmark,
sure.
for their age or gender. And
Yeah. So
I ran like half my program as breaststroke. Like half of the workouts of the week had like completely separate breaststroke group workouts by the end.
mhm.
Yeah.
What how do you like to structure your workouts? Are you someone who likes to plan in advance and kind of have you know, a week, a month, a year kind of framework and then play around and
Yeah,
tinker with things? Like what does it look like for you?
it's pretty high level, like basic. Like so for me, I look at when the meet is. This is like here's my process exactly
Yeah,
how I
yeah.
do it, and it's really
Yep.
really
Do it.
basic. So
Mhm.
I look at when the competition is, then I go backwards from there and think about how long I want the taper period to be,
Mhm.
and then from there I just run the same basic cycle, um, depending on how many weeks I have left. So if I have 12 weeks, then I'll split it into 2 different blocks, like a front end speed block and a back end speed block. You could also call it like a capacity versus power block
Mhm.
in other terminology, right? So
Sure,
the
sure.
first part of the cycle is going to be base like capacity building, both aerobic and anaerobic, and then the second part is going to be more power based. So VO2 max,
Yep.
lactate tolerance type of work, and then taper and race. A lot of it was sort of inspired by guys like Ben Titley and Shannon Rollison, who
Mm.
do Shannon was famous for really coining this reverse periodization in the swimming community, where you basically build everything off the back of speed. And so that has informed a lot of what I do. I got to spend some time with Shannon in Australia. And when I first started coaching, I sent enough emails to Ben Titley, who was coaching at the National Center in Toronto at the time, that he finally allowed me to come and be a volunteer assistant for him for free. And so I ran my club program. And then in the mornings that I didn't have morning practice, I drove across Toronto to the National Center and I
Mm.
volunteer coached for Ben 3 times a week for 6 months. And I got a really good sense of how he was operating. And I really loved that. And I got to see like how he was interacting with people like Penny Alexiak and like Josh Leendo was there at the time, Yuri Kissel, some really, really high level athletes.
Yeah.
And so a lot of what I do kind of is it's a merger of what other people have done and then what I like to do. And then, obviously what my dad, who's been a career coach and coached at a high level, I have all of that sort of information as well. So it's like a mix of all these sort of philosophies. Yeah. But I would say speed first for sure.
Protect your speed. Yeah. What did you learn when you would volunteer with Ben? Like just from observations and
interacting with high performance people. He was a master at this. He was really great at motivating people and did it not by being super over the top, but by being very intentional about what he said to people and how he said it and when he said it and who could hear it. Like there was a real art to how Ben would motivate people. And I think that's a really special quality about him. And I tried to learn as much as I could from that. The first day I was there, he taught me a really important lesson in the terms of the importance of consistency in your coaching behavior. So he made me walk up and down the pool deck with him and take times on my stopwatch and to compare it with his times, because he wanted to be sure that my times were within a tenth of his times, or else I wasn't going to be allowed to time anybody in his program. Because he was like, well, I can't have Penny hear from you that she's going half a second faster than when I tell her a time, or a half a second slower. We have to protect, realism and confidence, both of those things. So I need to make sure you're on my tempo. It was really interesting to me. And I did that when I started working with high performance athletes, and I would bring in an assistant coach. We would do this and until we were pretty close. And because it makes perfect sense at that level, like you hear something that's a half a second the wrong way, and all of a sudden you're going, well, what am I doing wrong? What is happening here? Why can't I do what I could do last week? And it's like, well, you did, just this person timed it differently. So
right.
That's one example.
Yeah, that's great. What do you try to, as a head coach now, what do you try to impart on your assistants or within your staff, kind of along those lines of kind of keeping that consistency? Like what's your kind of method of mentoring?
I think similar. I try to set myself up with people who I trust deeply. And I'm a big believer in giving a lot of responsibility to the people on your team. I think if you choose someone to be on your team, it should be because one of the major reasons should be because you're willing to take your hands off the wheel and trust that person to do things and correct athletes and write programs and be engaged. So I'm a big believer in that. So I tried to, and I'm a big believer in teaching people how to do things the way that you want to do them. Obviously, you have to stick to your core ethos, but as soon as possible, I try to get them really engaged with the program and working with the top level athletes, not just me talking to, I'm not the only one talking to my best athlete. I'm, half, maybe a third of the week, they're actually being coached by somebody else in a different, and the set is being written by someone else, and it keeps things fresh. I learned in Denmark that I didn't need to be involved in everything all the time. I was hyper into it at the time. And looking back now, I'm like, whoa, I did not need to be that. I did not need to be that engaged. I think it really helped us get results quickly, but I've learned that it's not necessary. Like you'll probably get the same results with, 30% less. And it's okay to do this and let someone else do it.
And now a quick word from our sponsor, Aquatic Sports Performance. If you're serious about getting stronger, faster, and increasing your mobility, ASP has you covered. They specialize in strength, mobility, and dryland programs built specifically for swimmers and aquatic athletes. Everything is delivered right through the Train Heroic app, so you can follow along easily and track your progress. I've personally been using their online strength and mobility program, And let me tell you, it's made a real difference in how I feel in the gym and how I move in the pool. It's structured, effective, and tailored to what aquatic athletes need most. So if you want to train smarter and build real strength that transfers to your swimming, check out Aquatic Sports Performance and their Train Heroic programs. You'll find links in the show notes. This segment of the podcast is brought to you by SwimSmart. SwimSmart is an incredible company that has a plethora of tools, including designs like the push paddle, the power harness, the squeeze line, and an informative book like The Biology of Swimming. If you're interested in learning how to level up your swimming, go to swimsmarttoday.com to find the best tools for you. Use code GETOUTSWIM for a discount on your purchase. Thanks again, SwimSmart. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you find is a big game changer as far as training your athletes that maybe you've learned over time that you didn't necessarily realize or know at first?
Mm-hmm. They need to understand why they're doing the things that they're doing, and they need to be able to picture the thing that you're trying to get them to do. So if you haven't taken the time to educate somebody on the task that you're trying to accomplish, why it's important, what it looks like, how, some cues for how you think it should maybe feel, and have a discussion with them, you're leaving a lot of time, like you're wasting a lot of time. You're going to waste a lot of time, bashing your head against the wall, trying to figure out why something's not sticking, when really a lot of the time the answer lies in, like, do they actually understand it? Like, really? Then not just you told them what it is and how it should, but could they recreate that for you? So could they explain to you what a proper breaststroke catch is supposed to look like? If they can't, then I think you've got real problems. And that's something I think is not done enough.
Do you have so you gave a little example with the breaststroke catch, but do you have another example of maybe something that you've tried to teach your athletes and that you think they could be able to explain back to you pretty well if asked the question?
If I use, if I use the same athlete as an example, understanding body line was a big thing, and it was a very challenging thing for her to grasp. And the solution, we went like really basic. So you just imagine this person is, at the time, I think world ranked number 85. It's pretty good. And here I am doing front floating with this person because they needed to learn the shape and the balance of this, like the core shape that they need to be in. It was trying to do it through drills was not working. And when she was an age grouper, had more time been spent on developing these sort of awareness abilities and cues, then we might have not had to do this. But we had to go at 20 years old and relearn like basic swimming shapes, right? Because without that base knowledge, it's quite hard to say, well, you need to have a better line. Well, I don't know what that means. Like, I don't know what it feels like to have a perfect line. So, like,
sure.
Same thing with underwater kick. Like, I had another guy, Rasmus Nicholson, who is the Danish record holder in 50 100 butterfly short course. And he switched to our program in my second year. And I had to really work with him to like understand underwater kicking, and like, not just, he was a big, powerful guy, but we needed to build an understanding of the, like I mentioned earlier, the smaller movements that happen, throughout the kick cycle and the different contractions that happen there to have good flow. And, he had this idea in his head that he had to be like arrow straight with his arms when he was kicking underwater. Like, he had to lock into a line. And I think most people know now that that's not true. Like, when you look at great underwater kickers, there's some of them have quite a lot of movement, and it's very mobility based. But just like breaststroke kick, there's not one way to do underwaters. There's lots of ways to go from point A to point B. And some things, and those things can look quite different. But they have core core components.
Mm. Yeah. Well, with underwater kicking, I remember watching a video just yesterday, and it was an athlete talking about how depending on your height and the size of your body, that really can impact how you choose to, underwater dolphin kick. Meaning, if the front half of your body, or at least the top, is sort of analogous to like the handle of a whip, um,
Mm-hmm.
the handle can have more movement if you are maybe, let's say, smaller, because if you're smaller, you need to be able to utilize more of your body, than if you're maybe 6'5" or 6'6"
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
don't have that range of motion or flexibility, and you can use most of the whip or your legs to
Mm-hmm.
to uh, to kick. So basically, what she was saying was there is experimentation that needs to be done with underwater kicking to find what works best for you. And
Yeah, and some of it can go against the grain. Like it can be contrary to the conventional wisdom, right? Or what's taught in your ASCA level 1, level 2 course, right? There
Yeah.
you can, and I think something that I try to get athletes to do as well is watch more swimming. I don't think swimmers in general watch enough swimming. Like study the tape,
Yeah.
figure out what things actually look like, and what the best people look like doing them, and then look
Great
at what
point.
you do, and you can probably find somewhere in the semifinals of the Olympics or Worlds somebody of those 16 people who does a skill kind of similar to how you do it. Right? This is a really interesting concept that like even at the top end, there's huge variation in a lot of different things. So when I as a coach if I'm trying to teach someone something, one of the first things I do is I find an elite model. So I'll just go and watch a bunch of races till I find someone at the highest end that does something similar to what they're doing as like a trust building exercise. And then from there, I can go into like, but if they look like you, but they also do this thing differently, and we need to learn this thing. Right. And so I give them a reference point that's easier to digest, right? If you use Adam Peaty as a model and your swimmer swims like Evgenia Chikunova, you are looking at it's apples and oranges at this point, right? Your demo video that you sent them of Adam is not going to be probably as useful as someone similar to that.
Totally. I have a question. What does training smart mean to you? Like it kind of goes off of this conversation that we're having, but what does swimming training smart mean to you?
I think don't waste your time. It sounds really simple, but like I don't plan workouts for time. For instance, I can't remember the last time I did that. When the workout is done, we're done. So if that's an hour and 23 minutes, then it's an hour and 23 minutes. If it's an hour and 55 minutes, then it's that. And so I write programming based on what I think we need to accomplish in the session. And I don't do anything more than that for the sake of doing things. And I believe in smart training being reverse engineering racing results, right? What is the outcome that you want? And then train for that outcome specifically. And that can be as basic as, making sure that stroke counts and rates and split times are in line with what you want to actually do in the race. I don't think hard for the sake of hard is ever good in most of the time. So that would be how I would break it down the best. Yeah, like use your time purposefully and be happy with accomplishing what your goal was for the day, and then move to the next one.
Yeah, that's great. What does talk to me about this this MAKO product that you've been working on and have been putting out for the swim community? Talk to me about that.
Sure. So we're a small team, 5 people, and what we started doing was building a race analysis tool about 6 months ago that we had planned to release to basically democratize race analysis across the swimming community. Right now, really the only way that you can get access to the same sort of data that national team level swimmers get is through doing it in a spreadsheet or doing having an analyst on hand, and that's just not feasible for most places. And it takes too long to use traditional software like Dartfish or Kinovia to do these sorts of things. So that was the first idea we had. So we created a semi-automated race analysis tool. There's no such thing as automated with a cell phone camera. Technology is not there, but it allows you to tag races really fast. Like I'm talking like 2 minutes for hundreds and maybe 3 minutes for 200s. And I can do an 800 in less than 10, no problem. So that was the first product we built. And then I was looped in with some other people who were working on sort of a workout tracking tool. And so we partnered up and built a workout tracker where coaches can type in their natural language and set up their terminology however they want. And the software will track their workout data for them. So you don't need to use Excel sheets to keep track of what's happening in your program. And it sorts all that information at a team and at an athlete level. So by just writing workouts and taking attendance, you're able to have all of the training data for every athlete in your program without doing any extra work. It's just your normal workflow. There's a ranking system in there. So coaches, I'm sure, you're in a club program. I'm not sure if you've attempted to do this, but I certainly did when I started coaching, was trying to create rankings for things in my club. Like I wanted to have leaderboards for 100-meter kick PBs and things like that. And to do that, you'd have to have all these different coaches at different pools do this, record, like do a 100 kick, record the times, and then send them back to the head coach to put them in one master spreadsheet. And this is the whole workflow that took forever. So there's a tool in there to just very quickly, right off your cell phone, enter, like create metrics, track anything you want, right? Could be really specific, push 15-meter effort with a red Finis parachute, or it could be, push 200 kick for time, whatever.
Sure.
And it can do test sets as well. So you could do like a 4x50 on 2 minutes test that I do a lot with my 100-meter guys, and keep all the times in there and create rankings for the test sets. And athletes have access to all that on their phone as well. So it creates quite a nice like system between coach and athlete where they can see their race data, see their training data, see their metric data. And it's also an athlete wellness monitoring tool. So they do a daily survey to let you as a coach know how they're feeling so that you can make smart decisions about your programming. And it generates smart notifications for you. If someone is having a bad week, it will tell you so you can action a conversation with that person. One of the biggest use cases for me is the ability to see patterns over the course of a week for a person. Sure. So let's say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, someone is consistently scoring an 82 out of 100 on their wellness score. And then every Thursday, Friday, it's like 60-40 every week. That would tell me as a coach, one of two things are happening. Either, number one, this person has something going on in their personal life or they're not taking care of themselves, and that's impacting their recovery through a week. Or my programming, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, is harder for that person than I think it is. One of those things is true, right? Or a combination of both. So it is really a well-rounded coaching operating system. I won't say too much more, but we've got national centers in multiple countries, clubs all across the world on, I think, 5 continents, and a couple swimming federations working with the product already. So it's only been live for about a month. Coming out next week is a version of it that is for anyone, parent, master swimmer, where they can have the same race analysis tool on their phone. So
very cool. Yeah, it seems like another tool that can help just make things easier for coaches and for athletes and for parents to just visually kind of look at and to track and to help inform your swimming, right? Like at the end of the day, it's to help inform your swimming without putting in a lot of extra hours and work.
Yeah, and that was the main goal, right? It was like, we're all busy people here who do this job, and the more time that you can dedicate to helping your athletes perform better, those are obviously way more valuable hours than sitting in front of a spreadsheet. And so the whole goal was to eliminate the spreadsheet and save everyone a boatload of time, but then put all of these things in one place. So you don't need to have 4 different apps. You just have one, and everything lives in there. And if you're a head coach, you can keep track of your whole organization, and it's just easy, right?
Yeah.
Coaches don't need complexity. We have enough of that already.
Totally. I think it's great. And I have another last couple questions here. What advice would you give to younger coaches based off of your, experience, kind of club coaching in Canada, working in Denmark, and now in Malaysia? What advice would you give to a young coach looking to kind of pave their way?
Yeah, 2 things. I think if your goal is to progress like through levels of coaching, like from like performance levels, that's one thing. And that's not for everybody. Not everyone wants to do that. Some people have a very different reason for why they coach. But if progression is what you're looking for, then I would say 2 things. Number 1, reach out to people who have done what you want to do and ask them how to do it, or ask them for advice on how to do it. You would be shocked at how easy it is to get great information from people by just asking them. So when I needed breaststroke advice, I went to Joseph. When Rasmus joined my program, I reached out to Michael Bowl because he had just finished developing Cody Simpson from like pop star to like a guy doing Olympic cuts. And I was like, okay, what did you do with this guy? So that's one thing. And that could just be, it doesn't have to be the greatest coaches in the world. It could just be the coach in your LSC who's doing the best consistently. Go and ask them. They're probably not going to say, screw off. They're probably going to sit down with you and help you learn, right? If you ask them. So just set your ego aside and go do that, because then you'll learn quicker. The second thing is if you have the time, I think going and seeing what's happening at a program that's getting the results that you would like yours to, or athletes that are getting the results you would like yours to, find the person closest to you who you can do that with. And like I mentioned earlier, go volunteer there for free and offer to help. It's not to say that everyone will be able to do that, but I think if you can, it's a very quick way to brush shoulders with athletes that are at a high level, and coaches that are at a high level, or certainly higher than yourself, to find out how they operate, but also, be associated with that cohort. I think that's a smart plan. If your goal is to be the best 12 and under coach in the world, and you are inspired by working with young kids to help them enjoy the sport and learn, there's also a group of people where that is their main goal, then I would just say, again, like, don't make assumptions about things. Go and do your homework, and go look at what other places are doing and learn. And I think the best coaches are quite good at borrowing or stealing from other people. And I think that's a totally natural thing to do and a smart thing to do. If you want to accelerate yourself, like, just go look at what's been done and do that. And then, layer your own thinking and expertise on top of that, right? Because someone has already built the wheel. You don't need to build it.
Yeah, I like that. What I'm hearing is, identify where you want to coach, in the sense where what level of athletes do you want to coach? And then from there, look into the ways to best coach that group or learn in that environment, and reach out to people who have paved the way for you, and kind of surround yourself with people like that. And you're right, it doesn't hurt to reach out. It doesn't hurt to ask questions. If anything, people will appreciate those that reach out and are looking for information. So
for sure. And I think to take that one step farther, like your if you're a head coach of a club, something that I thought was really smart. I mean, my father is a career coach and coaches one of the centers in Ireland. And when he was coming up through coaching, so as I was growing up, he would go somewhere. He had it in his contract where he would go and do a professional development trip for 1 or 2 weeks every year. And that was part of his contract that he negotiated. So he had been, while I was swimming, he was going down to Texas to visit Eddie. He was flying to Australia to visit all the main clubs in Australia with the best coaches. And sometimes he would bring an athlete with him. Like I got to go with him to the National Center in Montreal when I was a teenager. And the point of the trip was PD for him, but I, by extension, got to learn a lot as well. But he was always like, it was really inspiring to me because he was always just going and learning new things. And then he would come back to our club and we would all be waiting for the first day back. Like, what kind of crazy stuff did he pick up from Eddie in Texas? And what are we going to be doing now? And I thought that was really great. Like, never settling, even when you're coaching at the national team level, like not settling for, I know everything, because you don't, right?
Yeah, totally. Always looking to learn from people that are coaching and working at a high level too. Absolutely. And cross-culturally too. I think that's another takeaway is you're saying your dad went to Eddie in Texas, then he's going to Australia. Like, it doesn't have to be one place. You know, we are a worldwide sport. And I think that's something that sometimes is lost, maybe depending on what culture you're in or where you are. But I think that there is so much to learn from people, you know, like yourself that have situated themselves in a certain culture and landscape, but also have experience in different countries. So I think it's always worth keeping in mind. And so last question for you here. Are you a fan of a get out swim? And if so, do you have a favorite get out swim story?
Oh, yeah. I am a fan of get out swims. I do less get out swims in the traditional sense that like workout is done. I do them more individually with the athletes to make deals regarding their training program for the day. So for instance, I will say, you know, if you do, you know, what do you think you can do on this last one? If you do under this, then the swim down is 1 round instead of 2, right. And I do that individually with them throughout the practice. And I mean, they don't know this, but like, if I'm making a deal with them, it's because I'm already pretty happy with what we're doing. And like, if they do it and they don't do those extra meters, I don't care. Like, it's not the most important thing in the world. And if they go really fast on that rep, then I'm also winning in this situation because they're doing something that's at a higher level than what they thought they could do. And so I use it strategically like that. And I'll give different targets to people. And, you know, we had a guy the other day, you know, say, you know, they made a 3-way parlay with me where it was if they each did their goal time, then they would get to do, you know, they would have a certain outcome in the swim down where they didn't have to do or they could do it all with fins. And all of a sudden, when you do something like that, the effort level just skyrockets and everyone starts competing. And it just, you can get, when you feel the moment and you feel like someone is ready to do something like really good, you can deploy that as a strategy to level that up even more. Right.
Yes.
So
100%. Yeah. I love getting fins and paddles for an electric.
Every single day I have a swimmer ask me if they can use fins for something that it doesn't say fins on in the sheet. And so for me, every time that question is asked, my response is typically some sort of deal. Well, sure, but then you have to do this. And usually it's something really uncomfortable that they're going to have to do. But sometimes they say, yeah, okay, sure. Stand me up on the blocks and let's go.
Let's do it.
Most of the time they do it. So
it's awesome. I love it. And Eric, thanks for hopping on and chatting with me. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. And if there's anything, you know, else you'd like to add, now's the time.
No, I think just if you want to, I'm kind of new to this whole Instagram game, but if you want to follow along with what I'm posting, I post sets and technical stuff and race videos on Instagram. You can follow me at Eric Anderson Swim, and the same on LinkedIn. For anyone listening, if they have questions for me personally, I'm happy to talk or answer DMs. I do that all the time. So yeah, don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, again, follow Eric on his Instagram. He posts great stuff, sets, videos of his swimmers and athletes, and certainly always willing to engage with coaches or athletes. So yeah, follow him along, and yeah, Eric, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, same, Seamus. Thanks for having me.